Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And today is a very exciting day because I am joined by a very special guest. She is a counselor. She is a coach. She is a mentor. She is many things. She is a wise woman and she is beautiful inside and out. Her name is Jade Katrina. Jade, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. My ego says thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you got to love it, don't you?
It's great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
It's so cool to meet. Now we've connected recently, and we've just had so many synergies, so much alignment with what each other talks about. And really, before we get into that, though, for anyone who has never met you, do you want to do a bit of a spiel about yourself? You know, it's the fun part. Everyone loves doing that. Not.
I think it's your interview. Hey, we'll go there. Your interview with Anna, and I laughed because she talked about it being almost like a resume, and it's so true. We automatically go into program thinking and go, well, I grew up in Perth and I moved to Melbourne, so that's part of the story there. So my last sort of professional aspect was I was a corporate working in Melbourne, you know, doing the hustle, catching the tram and the train into South Bank every day. And then lockdown happened in Melbourne. I was not awake, not aware, I'd always sort of had a little bit of awareness of spirituality. And I grew up baptized Greek Orthodox, but wasn't really into religion. And when COVID happened, that was like my lowest of lows. Like I'd put myself on anti-anxiety medication, having not, you know, wanted to do that ever because my uncle was, he was on antidepressants when I was growing up and actually ended up committing suicide due to the side effects of the medication. So I was at a real low point. I was, you know, drinking like a bottle of rum every fortnight. You know, I had my party days before that where I used to go out and stick things up my nose and all that fun stuff, right? And I was just really coping through it, and I wasn't even in an introspective point in my life. My awakening happened during 2021 at the beginning in January, and I was literally on my couch, not sober, watching Avengers Infinity Wars. And I started just thinking about Thanos and Doctor Strange, questioning, you know, how they're the only ones in the present, how everyone else is in infinite wars, and, you know, whose reality am I a part of? Are there infinite Jades? Am I going to get stuck in this thought loop? You know, that'll be really depressing if I end up like one of those people that loses the plot during a really low point in their lives. And something just clicked in me. It was like this space was just created. And it was like, no voice, no nothing. And then it was just like the feeling from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. And I can just explain it almost like as a spiritual bliss, just like really warm, really feminine. And I was like, fuck. And I swear, sorry, guys. Like there's
You're on this podcast, it's fine. Yeah.
I went into the comment section of like the last one that I was on, and someone was like, oh, her language is so vulgar. I'm like, yeah, fuck it is. Well, you know.
You're being you, and that's what authenticity is all about. Yes.
That's it. It's like, it's my shadow staring me in the face when I see comments like that. I'm like, oh, all right. Like, you know, the fractal reality. Here we go, mirrors.
Yeah.
But yeah, that got me on like the searching path, like really, really seeking. I went into, and this is the thing, it's like, what is New Age? I was doing all the typical things like heart awakenings. I was reading books on star seeds and sitting there going, oh my God, no wonder I felt like I haven't been home, and, you know, just rabbit holing everywhere. And then started questioning the system, vaccinations, government, all that sort of stuff. I had my grandmother actually pass away from her vaccination at that point too. So we had to go and fly back to Perth in the middle of, you know, lockdowns and having to wear hazmat suits to go in to see her. And it was a real sort of like baptism by fire, pun intended, only then to actually get baptized as a born-again Christian later. So I've done it all. I decided to leg out of Melbourne. I was going to stay because I was seeing a clairvoyant at the time, as we all do, I think, trying to seek guidance from every avenue, every person that we can. And she goes, no, you actually need to stay in Melbourne. She's like, you're going to meet your soul family there. She's like, you're going to go to like a freedom rally or like an event. I can see it. You're all going to fit together like cogs on a wheel. You've got, you know, like a role to play. Shit's going to hit the fan. You're going to need to go and get a 4-wheel drive. You're probably going to need to go live in the bush for a bit. And it was all these really sort of dark thoughts that I already had, you know, like in my aura. So there's something to thought forms, right? Like everything has to exist in the unseen before it's seen. And so I was sitting there one day, and I love my mind because I just go into contemplation. And, you know, just to segue over here, this is my Manny Jen brain. I've always, you know, side quest with my chats, but I realize that it's like contemplation. It's the hybridization between what do you call it? Manifestation. Here's a word for you.
We'll make up new ones.
Oh my gosh, that's it. Of concentration and meditation. So contemplation. So my contemplative mind was like, Jade, if you're destined to meet your soul family and your paths always intertwine, why would you not want to go and do it somewhere sunny? Why would you not want to go and like live and be like, you know what, I'll see you after shit has hit the fan in Melbourne over here with, you know, some, I was going to say margaritas, but I barely drink. Some glasses of water and a good time, and we can talk about, you know, all the things that we've been through. So I packed up my stuff, put my apartment on the market, moved up here to Queensland, and that's when everything started happening for me in terms of like the seeding with Christianity. Like I had people just randomly come to like fix my car that had got hail damage, and they started talking to me about Jesus. And then, you know, you'd be passed on a documentary saying that everything in the new age was evil and it's satanic. And then, you know, someone was in one of my coaching mentorships and she'd just been saved, and I was just surrounded by it. So that was the next leg of my story, which I then came out of due to like many things, like many, you know, internal seeds, external seeds, and the poison, what I say, became my medicine there. And yeah, after that, I dived all into, you know, like quantum physics, Michael Talbot, really looking at, you know, psychology, Jung, the shadow, and just everything that my soul really wanted. And, you know, as a sacral being, it's like you get energy from it. You're diving deep into like all of these things that just really feed you. And now I'm at the stage where it's like, my body and my mind is like, okay, you're full now, we need to rest. So it's like nervous system resetting for me and really leaning into the feminine. So I feel like that's my life story, but almost like my second chapter life story there, to give everyone a bit of a rundown.
And you know what I just find so incredible is how you've done all of that in such a short amount of time. Like it just blows my mind. Like it just blows my mind. Like for me, like it was such a slow burn, like over many years. Do you know what I mean? And then like, and the stuff that you've looked at and researched, it's just amazing. Like to me, it's phenomenal.
Thank you. And this is the thing, is we get in our heads because we're like, oh, I don't know enough. I'm such a baby on my journey. And you hear people that are in, that have been awake for like many years, and the way that they talk about people that have just, you know, woken up, it's almost like a real judgment sort of that comes through. But I sort of think in it and I go, you know, what is time? It's like, it's not about accumulating here, like in this linear timeline. It's about remembering from the inside. And when you realize that you're an infinite being, you're pulling from, you know, sources outside of time. So it's really cool.
It is. It's so cool. And to me, it's all divine timing anyway. Like, you need to have whatever experiencing you're having in order to have that next light bulb moment. And like, you know, for me, I could say, well, I'm a slow learner then, you know what I mean? Like slow, like, do you know what I mean? But then when things really turn on, they're freaking on. They're like, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And they wouldn't have had that depth underneath it otherwise without it. So yeah, it's cool. It's really, I just love it. I love it. I love your story and your journey. So tell me more about you. Tell me what you're most excited about right now. We'll start there and then we're just flowing.
I'm just loving, through my awakening, I came into consciousness, I think, so quickly because I eliminate everything that's not. So it's like, let's test this. Nah, it doesn't work. You know, that doesn't hold up there. That's, you know, when we look at things from a materialistic lens, that's a no. Oh, this feels good. Oh, this doesn't feel good. So for me, I'm really excited about just unbinding minds. I don't even think it's about, you know, like the what's coming next. It's almost like if we just like keep unclipping ourselves, unhooking ourselves, cutting ties, like rewiring the mind, because to me, it's like I really resonate with the all is mind. That's the mystery unfolding. So I'm really excited for the mystery. And that's probably a bit of a cop-out answer, but it's I want to know, but I don't want to know, because otherwise it's not a mystery.
Exactly. That's why we came here and we forgot, so we could remember and have the experience in the first place.
Yes.
But I'm so with you. Like, I resonate with that, because I've always, like, we've had all these layers and things put on us this whole time. And now, like, we're unraveling and we're taking off the layers. We're letting go of all those things and coming back to what we already are. Like, and as you say, and as I say as well, everything begins within and everything starts there. And everything is mind. It's in the imagination. That's where all the party's happening. And that's where we can create what it is we want to create.
Yes.
So it is exciting, isn't it?
It's so exciting. Like, what a time to be alive. And there's also a part of me, don't get me wrong, that's like, oh, I don't want to come back to this density again. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Well, now that's the thing, like, and a lot of people will say, this is definitely my last time here. We're doing something else next time. And we probably are. And like, if we're meeting and chatting, we'll be like, all right, we decided to do this. What's next? Like, who knows? But everything's happening at the same time anyway, isn't it? Bloody hell. Like,
And when you said the word party, I had to laugh, because there's a part of me that is almost like, come on, guys, like, doors opening, come to the party. It's like a reunion. Like, when we talk about like having union with God, I'm like, it's a reunion. It's a remembrance. Like, when we talk about remembrance, it's a member. It's like, come on, guys, like, remember with me. Like, come on, party in the imagination, as Narita says.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. That is awesome. That is awesome. There's so many things. You know, something that I really love about, and we're connected on Instagram, I just love how you articulate yourself. You're so good with words, and not just in your writing, but also when you do your speaking as well. And I love how you share everything on there. Like, you just get inspired and just go, all right, I'm putting this out today. I feel like talking about this. Is that how you do it?
It is, because I've noticed with me, when I do things out of like obligation and shoulds, it doesn't work out for me. It's almost like if there's no energy behind me, I'm pouring out of a cup. Whereas if there's energy behind me, it's like, I use the analogy of tea, and this is not mine, it's from somewhere, I don't know who started it, but it's like time, energy, and attention. And it's like, there's some things I've got a never-ending supply for in my cup when it comes to expression and sharing. But if I'm not expressing from a place of like wanting to share, and I'm doing it out of obligation, it's like my cup doesn't refill. So I try and share as much as possible when it's like I feel like I've got something to say.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's inspired then too. And I can totally relate to that as well, because if you're feeling like, oh, I've got to just put something out. And they're the times when you know, like, maybe you've done a video or something, you're just like, I'll put it out, but I know it's not feeling right. And that's when someone will say, you know, like, and you're like, I knew that. You didn't have to tell me, but thanks for the confirmation. You know what I mean? Have you had that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Subconscious reflection.
Totally. One of the reels that I love that you explained really well was the triangle, the victim. Yeah. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Oh, I love the drama triangle. And I know some people look at it and they're like, oh, this is preschooler stuff. But the drama triangle is a really cool model. And I've heard you speak about this as before. Sorry. Hang on. Let me get my tongue and my brain lined up again.
I love it. Don't you just love it? I know the person listening to this right now is laughing with us and enjoying this with us, because this is how a conversation goes. Like, I mean, this is how we just chat. I mean, far out.
Exactly. And the more in flow we are, the better it is. And it's nice to be able to like laugh externally and be like, oh, look at what my body and my mind is doing right now. Like, it's just so excited to speak. Okay.
With that in mind,
that's it. Let's go. Come into my drama triangle, everyone. So it's basically, if you picture like an upside down triangle, so up the top with the 2 points, you've got the persecutor and the rescuer, and then down the bottom, you've got the victim. And this basically says to me, it's like a trap. It's like an electric fence of victim consciousness. And it all relies on the victim, because we're all feeding off the same energy, because the victim, they're looking outside of themselves to be saved. They're looking for like an external rescuer, a superhero. Like we can look like at Jesus types, those people that are willing and happy to like martyr themselves, to sacrifice themselves, or to come in like all powerful and be like, hey, I'm going to come in and like save you because it's the right thing to do. And then on the other side here, you've got, like the anti-hero, the antichrist, like your Thanoses, your devils, all that sort of stuff, even your righteous judge sort of person, where they're actually victimizing the person by coming over the top of them and feeling like they need to teach them, they need to punish them, they need to put them in their place. Like, I'm doing this because I love you, right? It's like you can picture that voice. Which is really interesting when you look at Christianity as well, because you can see the God of the Old Testament doing that, but it's often Satan put in that position there. So the drama triangle, that the roles all rely on each other, and it's taking from like the outside. Whereas the flip of it, just to use like another model, there's plenty of different ways that you can look at it, would be like the empowerment triangle. So the persecutor is going to change into the challenger. So it's like, do you want to unpack that? Like, do you want to really, stick with that perspective, or do you want to actually deconstruct it? It's like challenging the person to like step up, to expand, to grow. And then on the other side, you've got the, hang on, my brain, you've got the coach. Yep, the coach, sorry, is on the other side instead of the rescuer. So it's like, it's inviting the person to come up and step up. And it's like, okay, I'm here when you're ready, but I'm not going to come down. I'm not going to come down in that drama triangle there, because that's a trap.
Yes.
And then at the top, it's the creator instead of the victim. So it's the person that's found the power within them instead of trying to take the power from the external. So I love it. It's a really cool way of like testing when you've stepped into victim consciousness. You can even do it with things like your pricing, where it's like, oh, am I sacrificing my worth here by putting my one-to-one prices down? Because my time, my energy and my attention is like everything that I need as a creator. So how can I like provide an offering to these people without, sacrificing my finite resources, if we think in linear time?
Yes.
Where everyone works out. So it's like I can be the coach and the challenger and the creator without stepping into that rescuer role of being like, you know what, I'll just give it to you. It's like, no, let's all expand. It's like, come out of your triangle. I don't want to step down.
I freaking love that. I love that. And when you're saying that too, like I'm picturing the triangle, the star thing too, like the two triangles over each other, like, because obviously it, as above, so below, like it's, everything has to exist. And we've been all of these things too. I think that's what's really important to remember, is like people sometimes think, oh, I'm only been this, but we have, and that's when we come to looking at our shadow side and looking, like you posted, I think yesterday, about looking at our shadow, but also looking at the gold and seeing it within others as well, and having that reflected back to you as well. Like, and then, going back to the triangle as well, is just seeing how the collective itself has been in this victim consciousness of wanting a savior, and like it's everywhere. Yeah,
literally. And this is the game. It's like one of my favorite quotes. I wrote it in my journal the other day because I always misquote it. I don't know if you've seen the movie Arrival.
No. Oh, I feel like I need to now. I'm going to write this down. Arrival. Tell me more.
Well, it's quite interesting because when you look at, Project Bluebeam and the possibility of aliens and stuff like that, this is a really cool film to look at, because it's not looking at them in terms of like being the persecutors or the rescuers. They've come. I won't give away do I give away the plot?
Spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear what happens in Arrival, don't listen now. Okay, go.
So there's a quote, and it basically says, it's talking about language and like the power of language, because I'm obsessed with language and everything to do with psychology, right? And it talks about the way that we've been programmed to think, essentially. And I see what we're in as almost like a big game. You look at, the chessboard, right? The black and white tiles, and, how we're forced to like play these roles like pawns. But actually we want to step out of that game and be like, you know what? I want to play a different game now. I want to have a party over here. Like, what can we do?
Yeah.
And so the quote goes, let's say I taught them chess instead of English. Every conversation would be a game. Every idea expressed through opposition, victory, defeat. You see the problem? If all I ever gave you was a hammer, everything a nail. So that's the way. I can't even remember what I said before that.
Yeah.
The way that we're programmed to think basically is to play a game and to swing into opposites and dichotomies, because that's we learn from the external in this reality until we learn from the internal.
Yeah, totally. I love that. That is, yeah. And it's just, I'm getting goosebumps. It's so funny, like things you say. Like I have always said life is but a game. How you choose to play it is completely up to you. And it's not saying that it's a game and that you don't take things seriously, but it's a game that you get to decide how you're going to show up. Like, and there will be fucking shit things that do happen, and then you get to choose how you respond in those moments. And then you've had these moments along in your life where you've chosen a shit way to respond, or you've come from a place of your pattern in programming, that you've had, and you've come from the wounded child, or you've come from all those things, the trauma and all that sort of stuff. And then we just keep spiraling and growing and expanding if we allow ourselves to do that, yeah. So it's just, it is a bit of a game, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a Megadeth song that I think of as well. And it's like, don't remember where I was when I realized life was a game. The more seriously I took things, the harder the rules became.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Oh, how cool the songs for stuff. I mean, just and movies. I just, the amount of like truth in plain sight and just their wisdom and stuff like that. And the thing with you is, like, you are someone to me who has a lot of wisdom, and you've obviously, like, you've had your lives and you've had this last life. To me, like, you've gained a lot from what you have. I mean, obviously we all do, but we don't all choose to get the wisdom from it, if you know what I'm trying to say here. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. And this is the thing. It's like, again, like, you can look at, I only woke up in 2021, guys. It's like, you can go as fast or as slow as you want. It's all decisions. Like, if you look at, things as like binary options of like, every time, you make a decision to do or not to do, because even not making a decision is still making a decision. It's just doing it passively, right? So yeah. Every time I chose to challenge my beliefs in my mind, it was just expansion, because you're living beyond your program, your template, your character, and you're going, ooh, I can actually write my character. And if I can write my character, then I can write my story. And I'm not saying that we create everything, but I believe we co-create together. And that's the fun of it. That's the party. So, like, go for it, go fast. Don't limit yourself by going, oh no, I need to spend more time on this, or I need to know more. It's like, again, that's programmed thinking. And having a creator or someone that knows their creative capacity to challenge you is priceless. It's like, as soon as you get a coach or a mentor, you know what it's like. It's like you've made a contract to be in their space, and automatically it's like your inner selves, or I call it my innie, or your higher selves, they're already communicating. There's already a transaction going on there, and you're already like setting yourself up to expand by just putting yourself in someone's field. Like, go for it, have fun, go fast, go slow.
Yeah, totally. That's so true. From the moment you just say, yes, I'm doing this, and commit, that is when, and it's done. Like, and it's from there, isn't it? Totally. Oh my gosh. I had something else that came in when you were saying that, and I know it's gone. This happens a lot when I'm talking to people. It's like a mega brain fart, but it's because I'm really loving what you're saying. So I'm like, yeah, I'll remember. I think that happened when I was chatting with Anna too. So we were like, brain fart
I was
city.
laughing in my car.
Oh, it's great. It's great. What were we talking about? What were we talking about just then?
That's a good question. I think we're talking about how fast we can go through things inside.
Yeah. And then, I mean, okay, I don't know what it was, but there are no rules. I think that's the thing. There are no rules with how we do this. And like, as you said, and as we know, we are infinite. And so we can never know. I think that's where I was going. We can never know everything. Like, the more we know, the more we realize we don't know. And like, I think you said this as well in a post, like, there are people who know a lot about something, and there are people who, like, more than some in some areas, less than some in other areas. And no one has it all. No one knows everything. And we're all there to co-contribute together and co-create together. So we learn from everyone. So never worry if you're it's great to be the person if you walk in the room and you know the least, because imagine how much you're going to take from that. And then just know that you will be sharing as well. Like, there's so many ways to look at it, isn't there?
Oh, 100%. It's like, okay, I get to be the teacher, but I actually got to be the student 80% of the time. And even if you don't learn anything, it's internal refining where you're going, oh, that didn't resonate with me. I don't like that. And instead of projecting to that person and putting them down, it's like, okay, why didn't I like that? Why didn't that resonate with me? What is, my body, my innie, whatever you want to call it, what is it trying to communicate to me in this moment? So you still learn. It's just that you're not getting it from an outside source for the first time. Your source is internal, and you got to figure out what the message is.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. I mean, and what I've said so many times too is, looking within, it's not always fun and sexy. It can be so it's hard to look at the shit that you don't want to see about yourself. But it's also the most empowering and expanding, because there's no way in hell any of us are just like perfect all the time. Like, we've all got both sides of the coin within, and that's why it all starts within. And that's where we reflect, and that's where we see, and that's how we grow. And that's how we also expand our compassion, not only for ourselves, but others as well.
Oh, boom.
Yeah. Boom, she says. But that's exactly what you share that too. So it's just, isn't it that? Mm.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's like you can hear the same message communicated.
I love you so much.
Thank you. I love you too. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. You can hear the same message communicated so many different ways, but it's like it just hits different every time. And it's like the universe is saying this to you, like, how do you need to hear this? So it resonates as like a truth for you. Like, just hear it everywhere. It's the same message that's going to like help you to expand. It's a seed.
Totally. Oh, seeds. Plant. I love, now that you're saying seeds, I'm like, you just think about planting the seeds in the garden of your mind as well. Like, I know that's a little bit off to where we're going, but yeah, it is. Everything's reflected back to you, and you get to decide. And like, I also say too, like, when we're communicating with different people, there's an asshole in the shop, and maybe he is just an asshole. You don't have to look within. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that being discerning as well, and like knowing when to go to reflect in and when to like balance it out. Because some people might have only ever looked within and looked at and not looked. Do you know what I mean? Word it better for me. Will you say what I'm trying to say, please?
I totally get you. It sounds like what you're saying, where it's like, it's almost like when you get really self-aware, it's like the shadow is going to trick you into thinking like everything's your fault, everything's your responsibility, you need to self-analyze, whereas really your soul is being like, do you realize that you've done the work here? And do you realize that what this person is saying to you is offensive and it hurts, and it's okay for it to hurt. It's okay for you to get angry. Like, you shouldn't be disrespected. Like, you don't need to then go, oh, I need to go and do some shadow work and I need to heal that wound. Maybe it's more about you seeing yourself, empowering yourself, and giving yourself some compassion. It's like, how many times do I need to slap you down again before you actually realize that you're beating yourself up due to the external triggers? Like, you don't need to do any more work. You need to live. You need to love.
Yes. And boom, right back. That's what I was getting at. Thank you. That is, and that's when you're coming into balance too, isn't it? Because you're self-aware, but then you are empowered as well, and you're seeing everything just from that another, like, to me, I use the word frequency. You've stepped into a new frequency, and you're reflecting on yourself, but you're also discerning, and you're also empowered, and you stand in your power. And that's what I get from you too. Like, you are someone, to me, like, I feel your frequency of, yeah, I know who I am, and I know that I'm always learning, but I know who I am. And that is a beautiful gift, I think. And I think people would get that every time they're scrolling in your Instagram and learning from you or working with you and that sort of thing. So it's really, really cool.
Oh, it's like a breath of fresh air, because it's the same when I see your profile. I'm just like, it's You know what I mean? It's just like that recognition, because it's like the more insane you look, it's the saner you are in that sense. And it's refreshing to see people that are insane. And my friend said this to me the other day. He's like, you actually want to be insane because, and don't, again, I'm always like, don't quote me, go and research things for yourself. Look at the etymology of the word, or like grab out a dictionary if you want to, see what you're programmed to think a word is. But to be insane means healthy. You want to be insane. You want to be in health.
Yes.
And it's refreshing to see people that are insane. You're like, oh, you get it. You're insane. Yes.
Oh, freaking love that. That is awesome. You're so good with words and breaking them down. That is brilliant. Have you added that one on? You'll have to add that one on. Insane.
I'll add that one in and I'll credit my mate.
Yeah, credit to it. Well, I think and I can't remember who said it. Maybe it was David Icke, but it might not have been, so definitely don't quote me on who said it, but you want to be going insane. Yeah, you got, oh no, but this is the opposite though to what you're saying. You're going sane in an insane world. But yeah. But you know what I'm trying to say. But I love that, because you do want to be insane. Yeah. Great. We're insane together. Isn't it marvelous?
God, they're not putting women in psychiatric hospitals anymore.
We're like, straight jacket, come around.
Some Christian person's out there with their steak ready to go. No. Got matches.
Oh, far out.
Sorry, not all Christians. If you're a Christian, you're listening to this, I know you don't want to burn us.
Yeah. Yes, we know. Oh, there's so many where we could go with this. Is there something bubbling to the surface that you just want to say right now?
Look, there's a part of me with all of this that I have a real passion for speaking on Christianity and like literal religion, because I feel like there's so many beautiful pearls, to quote Jesus there. And it's like, don't throw your pearls to pigs. There's so many beautiful pearls in the Bible, but we're within a world and a game where it's like they traumatize us to control us. And I really want to just empower people where it's like to question what binds them, to question the narrative, because we're moving into a time where it's like we've got this, this new world order coming from them. And then you've got all of us over here. They're like, no, let's shift into a new paradigm. Like, let's like leave that behind. And it's just like, where can we like identify the stories that they're getting us to identify with in order to control us? And to me, it's like, we're spiritual beings. So, okay, let's go down a rabbit hole with
that. Yeah, now's time. Yeah.
Let's go. So the thing that got me with Christianity, right, is that it's a way for you to give up your sovereignty, but at the ultimate level to me, which is your soul. And for those people that don't know, you're already born twice in this world. So you're born from a natural man and woman, not, a they, them, or, whatever fictional identity people are identitying with, you know what I mean? Identifying with.
Identifying, yeah.
That's it. And then you're actually born into the system. So that comes when your parents register your birth. So when you register something, you actually give away ownership. So they're registering you as a legal fiction creation, as your birth certificate, your paper straw man version of you. That is a separate entity to you, but 99.999% of people, they identify as that legal fiction person, which is like the land of the dead, right? Which is why you're summons to court, because technically you're dead. That's why the zombie movies are taking the piss of us, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a Christian and you're going you're identifying as, a member of the body of Christ, or it's not I that lives, but Christ lives within me. You're doing the same thing. You're being born again, and you're giving up your spiritual identity, your soul, in order to be a part of this system. And the only way that these systems can govern you is if you identify as these creatures, these new creations, because then you are tricked. You fall under their authority, you fall under their game, and they have the legal right in order to do what they want with you, because you've registered yourself, you've given up ownership to them. So it's a big trick here. And it's like, they're going to get people because, we all want justice. We want, righteous justice. We want peace. We want a new world. But again, it's giving your power away, and it's, giving it to this authority and letting them call all of the shots. And the only way that you're going to get out of this, to me, I believe, is if you can know who you are, you don't identify as something that isn't true. That's a lie of the ego, because if you go onto my Instagram, you'll see how I believe the story's been inverted as a way for people to live through the ego, the programmed self, the false self. And that's what I think happens when we die. I'm like, this is your test. It's like you get to the courthouse, the same as, you know, in the 3D reality here, and they go, all right, oh, you're a really bad person down there. Did you know that you made Nigel cry when you didn't look at the photos of his kids? And you're like, oh my gosh, Nigel. And they bring up these emotions in you and you're like, oh, I'm such a terrible person. I need to go back to learn love. I need to go back to learn compassion so I don't upset Nigel and Mallory again. And oh my goodness. Oh, but don't worry. You accepted Jesus, didn't you? Oh, I did. You get to go into heaven, or, you know, you get to redo it again. And they get you through like the guilt, through the trickery, and like through manipulating you. It's the same here where people, you know, I can't remember if I murdered, I'm making up all these names, right? If I murdered Jessica, and Jessica, you're like, why did you pick my name, Jade? And that's where they trick you, right? It's a trickery. And it's like, if you can realize that you don't actually need a plea bargain, you can get up there and you can go, you know what? I came here not to love everyone else, but to learn how to love myself, to remember who I am, to remember my creative abilities here, to learn and to grow. Like, judgment is a man-made way of thinking. So to me, it's so important for people to be unbinding themselves from their wounding and their constructs and their programming and going, I don't actually need this system, because this is the system of all systems, right? It's like that it was the priests that were in the ear of the king, in the ear, not the air. Well, they were speaking into the ear. There we go.
Yeah, true.
Of the kings and the queens, like they were in the ears of the monarchs. But that, again, that's the illusion, is the monarchy, the one ruler, is internal. So if people can get out of the inversion, it's like that's where the new earth comes in, and that's where the new paradigm comes into me. And again, IMO, in my opinion, I think it's really important.
Oh, it's so important, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's any savior out here, the government, like whoever, you're giving away your power rather than knowing that you had it in you all along. Like the Wizard of Oz, she had the power within her all along. Like, that is where it is. And it's so, as soon as you're looking externally, whether it's whatever it is, like you're saying, with Christianity, with any religion or anything like that, and that's not taking away some of the awesome wisdom that is within the Bible. Like you said, like there is so many pearls of wisdom and awesome ways to live by, and morals and things like that. It's definitely not taking away from that. It's just saying that you are standing in your power, knowing that you are the creator of your reality. You get to remember who you are, and you're not giving away your power to someone else in order to be a good person or in order to pass the test, sort of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, the fact that you have so much knowledge around this, like you've read the Bible, you know all of these things. Like, I'm just so in awe of all of that, because there's so much wisdom you have gleaned from that as well. And to now stand here and know, you know what, this is how I stand, and this is what I see, like you said, in my opinion, of course. But, you know, yeah, like, I mean, you must have, like, did you just like read nonstop in that time? Like, I guess because you're in Melbourne, you were at home a lot. So
you know what? I was saved when I was on the Sunshine Coast, so I could have had so much more amazing beach time out there, but this was just so much more expansive, right? Because I was probably only a Christian for about 8 months, but when I go into something, like I go into it all in. It's like, you know how people joke about people with ADHD where they hyperfixate on stuff?
Yeah.
That is me. I was hyperfixated on the Bible. I was reading it all these different ways. Like, a lot of people, to me, it's like they're not even reading the Bible, and someone's going to want to shoot me for this, but they're not reading it properly, because to me, there is a right way to read it in a literal sense, which is so people can read the Bible sort of in two ways. Someone's going to go, there's actually 6.
Yeah.
But you
probably infinite, guys. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. But people divide the Bible a lot of the time by covenants, and the covenant means agreement, and there's so many agreements in the Bible. So when you look at like the new covenant and the old covenant, it's actually God's covenant that he made with Israel. And people often don't differentiate between Israel and the church. So, the body of Christ, because they can be two different things. And when you break the Bible down in a different way, not from the lens of covenant theology, here's some big words, you break it down dispensationally. And dispensations is just like a period of time where it's like, what was God doing then? And when you can look at what he was doing then, you look at the context, you look at who Jesus was speaking to, you look at who Paul was speaking to, you look at all of the events in context, you can break it down into dispensations. And the best way to do it, to clear up all of the hoo-ha within Christianity that they all infight over, in my opinion, is to read the Bible as a Pauline dispensationalist would. So that differentiates between what Jesus said and what Paul said as being completely different. Because when you look at it, and I'm going to use the J word here, is because, everything's censored nowadays. Jesus was always speaking to the Jews. He came to the lost tribe, for the lost tribe of Israel, the little flock of Israel, I think it was. And again, don't quote me. I haven't read a Bible since I got rid of Christianity and cast Jesus out of me. But you can clearly see that they're two different gospels. And what Paul came in, he was essentially preaching like Judaism light in a sense. And in 70 AD, Israel fell, Rome came in and took over. Hello, one world government, it's happening again. And everyone's like, oh, it's so good. See, we're a member of the body of Christ. He's going to come, he's going to return. And even Revelation, a lot of it actually played out around the time of Israel falling and Babylon coming in, right? Rome coming in. So there's so many different ways and lenses to look at things, but freedom lies where it's like, well, look at it from the literal perspective. What's not true here? And you can read books like Jesus Wasn't Talking to You, and it outlays all of this stuff here where you go, so that actually doesn't apply to me. It's like evangelicals will go, all his promises were yes and amen. So they'll go through the entire Bible and go, this person was promised this, claim it. And it's like, but he wasn't talking to you. Are you going to go and claim all of the curses as well?
Yeah.
So there's some power in eliminating what's not true and looking at the context of things in order to expand and get freedom.
Wow. Far out. You know your shit around that. That is just so impressive. But it's also, when you look at it from a literal term, do you also look at it from a metaphysical way as well, like saying that the stories are just what's the word? Yeah,
allegories.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you see it? That's another way to look at it as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And even for me, it's read the Bible and fast, ask, your inner self. And you've got to be careful here, because if you haven't done the work, your subconscious is going to come in and confirm stuff to you, and you're going to think that it's God or Holy Spirit, and it's not. So for me, I would read it from a perspective that came to me from inside. And it was like Jesus was pointing out that the God that led the Israelites around in the desert was the devil. So you can look at things from these different lenses, whether it's hyperbole. So when Paul talks about, speaking in tongues, he's speaking in hyperbole. It's he's not saying in a literal sense, do this. Yeah. And then look at the even astrotheology. It's have a look at, what's referenced to here as the sun and the planets and the Piscean age. All of it is gold if you're willing to do the alchemy,
Yeah. Far out. That is just so cool. Where should we go from here, Jade? I'm just boom, 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 boom.
I know, it's such an interesting thing, isn't it? Because you get to these moments where you're just what is next?
Yeah.
And where actually, I'm really curious to ask you. Can I ask you questions?
Yeah, go for it. It's a chin wag. We can do whatever we want. We can get up, have a party, whatever.
Oh, I love it. Okay, let's go party. Bye, everyone. Where do you see this going in the future? Because it seems like so many of us, and this can be any story, any way you want to word it, right? So many of us, we're just unbinding our minds. And it's the possibilities are endless. It's what do you see happening in the future with how we perceive ourselves, how we live. Like, what are you seeing as like the next thing to break for us?
Yeah. Well, like I kind of feel like we've been slowly waking up and as a collective, and that we've been doing the internal work and we've been looking within and we've been doing all that sort of stuff. And now I feel like what you were saying before, it's time to really create and co-create what it is we do want. And that is, like you're saying as well, the mystery. What do we want that to look like? Like, this is where we get to playing. Okay, well, it's been shit. There's been awesome as well, of course. And like the light is shining upon the dark, but the dark was always there. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's within, but also without. And so what is it that we want to create now moving forward? How do we want to live? Like, I know there's lots of stuff that may be out of our control, but at the same time, us like having a conversation like this, for example, even is just creating a ripple effect that just spreads further than we can ever imagine. Like, I feel that that's my opinion. That's what I feel. That's what I know to be true. And that is helping to raise consciousness, because the more self-aware we are, the more raised in consciousness we are, the more we're not going to put up with that shit. Like, and so, but what is it that we want to create? And, who knows? Everyone's got their own piece of the puzzle of life. And so what might that look like, with all of us doing our bit? Like, what will that look like? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you're asking me what will it look like? I don't know, but I feel like it's going to be amazing. But I sense that not everyone is going to be on that same part of the game. Do you know what I mean? But that's part of it as well. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, you've just spoken to something I deeply believe over here. And it's to me, it's almost like, again, it's like that door opening, and it's like, I do want to like come through, and not everyone is going to want to, don't know why, don't know, what that story is behind there. But it's like, no, not coming back here again, guys. And my friend laughs to me because he goes, every time someone says that, he's like, you've got more soul work to do. But I feel it deeply within me. It's like, no, come on, Jade. Like, we've got other things to do. I'm exhausted playing this game around, all of these entities and people that are just trying to suck the life out of us here. Because it's, again, when you realize that we're all energy in everything we give our time, our energy and attention to, we're giving it away. And it's like, okay, but how much can I create in this reality when we're dealing with a collective unconscious? Like, we can't fix all of that. And like, yes, it only takes a certain amount to tip, but is everyone going to tip with us, or are some people going to stay on the other side of the coin?
Yeah, totally. And I think they will. And that doesn't make it us better or worse, right or wrong. And yeah, exactly. But we're just like, that's part of the game. And maybe, when we were playing the game, like, 25,000 years ago, we were the ones that didn't tip, and that, so we're now having that chance. Yeah. And that's why we're like, gosh, we're tired. Like, I want to do it again. Let's play a new game, like, it's a bit lighter and just a bit,
Yeah, less dense. And that's what I keep seeing it as, where it's like, where can I take this weight off myself? Because it's almost like, oh, it's so heavy. And people over here like, oh, Trump's coming and the Galactic Federation and Jesus this and Jesus that. I'm like, oh, I want to play that game. No.
Yeah. It gets, you feel it, don't you? Yeah. So you obviously, like, you're obviously a feeler as well. So you pick up on energy quite well, I'm guessing.
I've shut it down for a lot of my life. So this is where I'm at the moment. I feel a lot of us are at, is I'm trying to, right? You can't try to drop.
Yeah. You're trying to not try.
Yeah, exactly, the paradox. I'm intending to drop more into my heart space and to feel a lot more and to start working with the energy. So for me, it's like my nervous system at the moment. It's like exhausted. I'll have days where it's like I get up at 7 o'clock and then, go take the dog out to the bathroom, and then I come back and I go, I'm going to sleep. And I'll sleep for like 5 hours. And then I get up and I'm like, okay, I feel depressed today, which to me is suppressed. I'm like, okay, I must need to release something. So I'll go get out my journal or my art paper and I'll start expressing. And it's like, what have you got to say? And, I used to cheat a lot with this, with the feeling and like the leaning into the unseen and the mystery, because I hadn't done had edibles or weed or anything since I was in Melbourne. I think the last time I'd had it was September 2021. And then I recently decided to dabble again because I'm like, oh, I used to get such great downloads. But it's almost like I'm squeezing a sponge when I do it. And my body's like, what are you doing, woman? Like you're squeezing out all of the juice.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to lean into feeling and to knowing in a really organic and feminine way instead of my mind being like, num, 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 let's squeeze the sponge.
Yes.
Sponge, that's yummy, but
oh, the sponge. But it is, and when you're saying that, it's coming into the balance of the masculine and the feminine too, like what isn't it?
Yeah,
because we can, and yeah.
How did you go with like leaning into the feminine and feeling? Was it always present for you, or is it something that you had to cultivate? Do you have any tips to share with me and us?
Tips? I don't know, like, because I sometimes feel like I've been more in the masculine, and then other times more in the and I think I'm still learning and I'm still finding that balance as well. But I probably do it not as some people are more aware of it in saying the masculine and the feminine, whereas it's not really something that I say as often, if that makes sense. Yes, it does. Yeah. Cool. She's nodding the head.
Even looking at the polarity movement, I feel like everything is so hyper, like masculine, feminine, and it's like we have both within us, like the anima, the animus, and then we've got our minds. It's like we've got, the left brain and the right brain. It doesn't mean that we have to go into these old paradigms of masculine and feminine.
Yes. Yeah, we do. We've got exactly. So one of the things, like, and I was telling you before, I've got this journal that I've got, and I have, and people say, some people might, not fans of affirmations and things like that. But if you're saying it on a light, airy fairy way and you're not really feeling it, well, it's not going to do anything anyway. But one of them is my left and right brain is balanced perfectly. And that is just to, for me, like, coming in, having that. And then once you know it, like this is the thing, once you then know it, like, your own name, you don't need to say it anymore. But because we've had like all this programming and patterns, like we do tend to need to do the work to get it to be a knowing, even though it already is. But you got to do it. And like for some of us, we just like, I've said this before, we have big ships to turn around, like around our self-belief, our self-worth. And so in order for us to build the muscle of our knowing, that's what we've got to do. I don't know where we were going with that, but yeah, yes.
So many quotes in that. I hope to see some reels or something on that. Even what you said, where you go, once you know your own name, you don't need to say it anymore. And the analogy around the ships,
yeah,
resonance,
yeah. Well, and I really feel that, and that's been in my life, like where but you've also, like, which you would have gone through as well, like you experience the polar opposite and you come back the polar other side. And then you find your balance, and it's the pendulum swing as well. And that's how you get to know yourself. If you want to, if you choose to, if you allow it, that's how so I find all of that stuff really fascinating as well. And I know you do as well. And it's just like, we're like, every time each of us is talking, we're like, yes. But it's true, isn't it? And like, to me, I think the more of us that can do the work and self-reflect, and just that is how we raise consciousness. It's not putting it out to someone out there and relying on it. Like when we raise consciousness, that's how we start the new party, the new paradigm. And it's already started, obviously, but you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. I know it, gnosis.
Gnosis. Yeah. I think everyone, to the awesome human who's watching this right now, you've got to follow Jade on Instagram, because I just know the pearls of wisdom that you have. And I just, like, I'll say it forever, just the way that you break down the words. It's just like, it's like we were saying before, you hear something or you see something and you know it. And then you break down the word even further and you're like, oh, of course. Like, I didn't even think of that. And then it makes another, it's just awesome. So yeah, you've got to keep doing those as well. Yeah.
And people comment and they give me more. It's like even Will Keller, follow him as well. He's amazing, really into law and etymology. Love it.
Yeah.
he commented again, I did a post on like mon and demons and like dividing the mind. And he's like, mon also means this and da, 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 da. And then someone else will go, oh, that post you did today, you could actually tack on this. And it's just like this again, it's like this co-creation. It's this co-remembrance. It's amazing. So I should have actually defined more of like what was said there, but my brain just tangented over here to make a
That's exactly what I do, so it's fine. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. But no, so and Will Keller, he's awesome. Like he breaks down things so well, doesn't he?
Mark Passio as well.
Oh, he's a legend. Yes. Just if you've got a spare 9 hours and you've never listened to Mark Passio, his talk on natural law is just brilliant. And obviously I didn't listen to it all at once, and I've gone back to it as well. It's just he breaks it down, and I think you break down the words like he does as well. And I think it's really good to it's because not everyone is thinking about this in their day to day. And again, this is showing that the pieces of the puzzle we've all got. And then, like you're saying, like you've done this piece and then someone adds to it and you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. And it doesn't make it makes it better. It expands it. And then everyone's realizes that we're all part of it and, putting it all together.
So true. And it's the analogy popped into my head there where it's like we're all at the party and we've got this big puzzle there and someone, pulls out these pieces out of their pocket and they're like, hey, I've got these. And someone might be like, no, you need to use my puzzle pieces. This is my puzzle. And it's like, they're awesome. They've got like different flecks on them, but they all like fit into the picture. Whereas people are like, no, that doesn't go in my puzzle. You don't understand. But no, I'm over here like, go and throw them out on the table. Let's go. On mine, and I don't even need to lose any because they're infinite.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my gosh. I really feel like I could talk to you for days, and I probably can. I don't even know how long we've been talking. So how have we been going? We've done pretty well. Oh my gosh. What time do we start? Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've been going for maybe about 50 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. That's just felt like about 10 minutes. So is all right. So is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up pretty soon, but whenever?
Whenever someone asks me this, I always end up tripping myself up. It's like the one I did with Dale. Was like, do you have a Bible verse? And I was like, oh, fuck, no.
Yeah. He put you on the spot with that, didn't he? Bloody Dale, that girl.
But it came up into my awareness the night before where I was like, go and look up the Bible verse about, the virgins with the lamps and then Jesus turning people away. And I was like, nah, I'm not opening up a Bible. So no, I've got nothing to share. I suppose it's just like, if anyone needs confirmation, it's like, just be authentic. It's like anything that comes and slaps you back in the face, it's just your shadow. And it's people using you in order to not face themselves. And they don't know that they're doing it. It's all unconscious. But you're going to find people once you do that are really going to see you, that are going to resonate with you. And if you don't expose yourself, you're not going to get what's coming to you because people can't see you. It's like, I almost see this analogy with the feminine as like the feminine being truth. And it's like people see the truth as like ugly. They're like, it's too much. It's brutal. It's unladylike, or you shouldn't be speaking on that. And it's like, don't tell me like how to be a woman, or like don't tell me how to be authentic. And you don't need to go shoving it in people's faces. It's like, imagine that you're literally going out standing naked in the street being like, the truth. People are going to be like, go away, get inside. It's like, no, it's like, expose yourself how you want to, like flirt with the truth, play with it. It's the same when like you've got friendships, right? It's like you can poke fun at people's truths and their shadows and be like, oh yeah, yes, we know that your shadow's forced, Jade. Do you think you maybe stepped into it a little bit there? And I'll be like, fuck you,
Yeah.
But it's like, play with the truth, have banter with it and poke. But society is so scared to do that nowadays. It's like there's censorship. It's like, you can't say that. You have to call me by your pronoun. And it's like, I'm not going to lie. It's like, I will respect you and what you would like me to, name you or call you, but I'm not going to change my language and my truth in order to fit into a collective. It's like, just be. How do you want to honor your truth? And are you honoring it, or are you literally just going out and just being like, you can't see me, but I'm over here like with my cardigan.
Yeah. Working it, baby. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm so with you on that. And it is about being authentic. And sometimes when you're authentic and being who you are, you will repel the people as well. And that's fine, because then you will attract the people who just totally get you're insane, and that's what you want. You want to be able to be with people who get it. And even when you are, like, we're all different anyway, but you can bounce and banter and just have that fun and show up. And that you are very authentic as well. And that frequency shines through in all that you do as well. And I think people will resonate with that, because it gives them permission, not that they need permission, but to show up and be who they are as well, which is just awesome.
And it's brutal, guys. Like, you might think that it's easy, but it's like I was saying to Narita before you began, I'm like, I'm sweating. Like, I'm sitting here. And it's like, as soon as I know I'm being watched or something, it's like, my subconscious comes in where it's like, oh, like you're being tested here or something. Whatever program it comes and it throws up to me. And like, after I did my first one with Dale, it's like my shadows came up like nothing else. And I went like really down, and it was painful. And I had to like just sit with it and like alchemize it and process it. And then I even got some energy work done with a friend, and everything shifted for me. It's like, again, it's like the men that I was attracted to shifted again, like the people that like fell out of alignment again. And it just, it's such an opportunity for expansion, but it hurts because you're ripping stuff off.
Yeah, it's and you know what, like you saying that, like I was saying before, I'm like, I'm the same, like I'm the same before I hit record. It's not, but I remember years ago, like I just knew, I was like, I am never gonna do a video ever. I don't need to do video, I don't need to be on camera, I'll just write that, do posts or whatever I'll do. Yeah. And then you just, and I remember saying it to a friend. She actually became a friend after doing quantum healing hypnosis technique. She's just, she's amazing. And I said, oh yeah, but I won't be on video. She just looked at me like, she's like, okay, like, and that pops into my head every now and then when I'm doing a video, because I think, fuck, I am doing it. But you're still, I think it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, like it just, because you're showing up and you're putting yourself out there, and that's you. And it's almost like you're being naked on the street, but yeah.
And you know what, if it was so easy and like we love it so much, it's like, well, then you're going to get the ego coming in and being like, hey, spiritual ego time, let's go. You got to have fun playing with it.
Yeah, totally. I freaking I'm so grateful that we've connected, Jade. You're an absolute bloody legend, and just know this chat has been awesome. Where can people find you?
I find you. You can find me on Instagram. So it's @_Jade Katrina. So JADEKATRINA. I'm always like, did I spell that right? Or if you want to flick me an email, if you're not on social media, it's jadekatrinacoaching @gmail.com. I do have a website, but I barely use it, to be honest with you. Most of my people just come through my networks if they want to work with me. So yeah.
Awesome.
Connect.
That's great. Well, we'll put all of that in the description box. So if you aren't following Jade yet, make sure you are, and you can connect with her on email or Instagram. Jade, I have just loved this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for listening as a person at home or walking along the beach or wherever you are. It has been great to have this conversation with you too. So yeah, Jade, thanks again for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun, and I'm so grateful. And thank you, everyone that's also listened to me. It's been great speaking with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jade.